Tattersail. I have heavily lidded eyes. Every blink is slow with me. I have a full mouth. And I'm super curvy. The sorcery that had been unleashed that day had been enough to gray the fabric between the worlds. The siege of Pale has lasted 3 years. We've been here 3 years sieging. Hairlock, the wizard, lay among the wreckage and dead bodies, his entrails just like a fucking squid's legs, dude. Spilling out of him where his legs were severed from his body. Tattersail speaks with Hairlock until Whiskey Jack and a couple others from the 9th come by. These are the bridge burners. The 9th Army, I believe. You know? Sorry, Reddit. The bridge burners were, and this is supposed to be fun. Like, when I get on Reddit sometimes, and you guys are like so intense about it. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I want to read this and like nerd out with you guys, and then you guys are like, no, it's a fucking thing in the book. I'm like, isn't this for fun? Are we reading these books for fun, guys? Like comments. When I see comments anywhere on the internet about Malazan, and they're like, "Did you fucking read the book?" I'm like, you suck so bad. I think you should maybe not read the book. Maybe you should read it. Did you read the book? Because it's about compassion, and you have none of that. All right. So where are we here? No, fuck that. I'm gonna fucking call you out, Reddit motherfuckers. All right. Yeah, you read it. The bridge burners were Emperor Kellenved's favorites. Legendary soldiers. These are the heroes you hear about. That fucking Whiskey Jack, you fiddler. Anyway, we haven't heard those names yet, John. That might be a spoiler for someone who wants to wait until they hear the name Fiddler, because that'll be a real enlightening moment. So a few notable names of bridge burners that are famous in this world are Dedoran, Ansy, Spindle, Whiskey Jack. Since Lassine's coup, the bridge burners have been driven into every rat's nest in sight. Almost a decade of this had cut them down to a single undermanned division. Whiskey Jack had been demoted from commander to sergeant and placed under the command of his one-time subordinate, High Fist Dujek One-Arm. We meet Quick Ben, who is standing over Hairlock. Quick Ben's a mage as well, so we have a wizard standing over a half of a wizard. And Tattersail says, Quick Ben's no beginner. Whiskey Jack agrees. Quick Ben is a fucking sociopath, so he's smiling over Hairlock, while Whiskey Jack is all gruff and looking out over the dead, concealing his emotions. A lot of dead people. I don't feel anything. I can't afford to feel. So we can see the difference in these two men. Quick Ben enjoys all of this crazy shit happening, and Whiskey Jack is, crying inside with a cool, calm, gruff exterior. Also, I just want to point out that rereading Erikson is a masterclass in dialogue. I read in one of Erikson's essays, I think, that his advice on writing dialogue is have a character say something, then have the other character's response be the opposite of what you'd obviously answer with. Whiskey Jack and the bridge burners were ordered to get past the enormous walls of Pale in tunnels underneath it. So they were ordered to undermine these ancient walls. And they've basically been down there the entire 3 years trying to do this. Trying to get into the city, to find a way to get all of the army into Pale. There are these wizards inside Pale who are like, they're calling the shots of like, okay, we got to keep the Malazans out. We got to keep this a free city. I believe this is on Genebacus. I'm going to put a map thing up. Tattersail says, you've been in your tunnel since morning. And Whiskey Jack says, what tunnels? And then he kind of turns away. Classic Whiskey Jack. Tattersail says, I'm sorry to Whiskey Jack. And Whiskey Jack says, don't be sorceress. And this next line, I can only see Whiskey Jack played by Keanu Reeves in John Wick. I don't know why. When I was reading, like the whole time, Whiskey Jack looks like the guy who makes all the art on the wiki. He looks like that Whiskey Jack, like, you know, and he's bearded and old and gray. Like, that's who Whiskey Jack usually looks like to me, which is cool. I like that. But when I was reading this line in the middle, he transformed into John Wick. So yeah, he says, don't be sorcerers, don't be sorry. And then he says, regret's not something we can afford. Regret's not something we can afford. Regret's not something we can afford. I tried to, but I just love you too damn much. I don't have any other Keanu Reeves lines. That's The Matrix. Don't get me wrong, this is a great line. But that's what I saw, and I can't unsee it, and I don't want to unsee it. I want that line. I want Whiskey Jack to be Keanu Reeves just for a minute. Maybe forever. The bridge burners numbered 1,400 at the beginning of the day, and there are maybe 35 now. 4 of the 5 tunnels beneath Pale collapsed, crushing these motherfuckers. Now, everyone is blaming High Mage Tayshrin for the disastrous day. High Mage Tayshrin is speaking with the Empress, has a communication going on with the Empress somehow for this entire day. So he is we don't know. He might be up to no good, because like they're calling some kind of weird shots here. Obviously, we know that Lacine has ordered the bridge burners into a bunch of shitty situations, and they're now 30. How many? I don't remember. They're now not very many bridge burners left. And so we know that she is pulling strings and trying to fuck them up for some reason that isn't clear yet. I'm sure we will get a clear answer soon. Tattersail looks to the sky where there was and has been for the past 3 years a giant looming shape, like a floating mountain above the city of Pale, and it's gone now. We don't know where it went, but we're about to find out, because and this confused me, because suddenly we jumped back in time, back in the Siege of Pale. So at the beginning of chapter 2, we are doing the Siege of Pale, the aftermath. It's over. We're good. I'm pretty sure we have the city now. The Malazans have the city of Pale. I've conquered it. But everybody's fucked up, and Tayshrin did something fucked up. And we're about to find out all about that here, because we have a kind of, not a flashback, but we go back in time. So, yeah. So Tattersail has been getting on with Callet for the past 4 months. He's really thin, and Tattersail is thick as hell. And Callet is described as a child clinging to the soft pillows of her flesh at one point. So I picture like this little baby of a man with this this thick lady who's like very voluptuous is the word, and she's heavy-lidded. And Tattersail. So now Tattersail sees what looks like a black floating mountain made of basalt, which is just lava rock. And this is Moon Spawn, a skykeep. So it's a floating castle that looks like a mountain. It's like, I picture a moon. Gardens of the Moon. Any takers? Gardens of the Moon. But we don't see Moon Spawn on here, do we? We see Mox Hold from the prologue. But there's the Ravens, maybe from Moonspawn. I don't know what this is supposed to be. The cover art's by Steve Stone, everybody. It's good. It's good stuff. Maybe he does all the mass markets. Let's see. Let's see who did the Crippled God. Steve Stone. So all the way through the series, he's doing these. So yeah, she sees Moonspawn floating above Pale, the city of Pale, where legions of sorceress Tyst Andy had descended from the floating rock to join a force of mercenaries called the Crimson Guard under the command of Caladan Brood. So, Tyst Andy usually have black skin, like actual black, not like our like version of black skin tone that we call black. They're actually like black skin. And I think most of them have white hair. Could be wrong about that. I know that one does for sure. Yeah, so they descend down from Moonspawn to join the Crimson Guard. So it looks like both sides of the fight have hired mercenaries to fight for them. And the Tyst Andy, the people of Pale, the free city of Pale have, and the Wizards of Pale are allied with Moonspawn and the Tyst Andy, also Caladan Brood, who's some kind of warlord, and they've also hired the Crimson Guard just to get it all the pieces going there. Yeah, and they're all fighting for Pale. Tattersail and her cadre couldn't possibly oppose such a force, so the siege had ground to a halt, with the exception of the bridge burners, who never stopped trying to undermine Pale's ancient walls and the tunnels underneath. And now we're in the tent with Dujek, one arm. Dujek, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not. So we find out that the Claw has been sent by Lacine, and they've been sent into the city to hunt the wizards of Pale. People generally don't like the Claw. There's a kind of a negative attitude among those in the military of the Claw, because they kill anyone, including Malazans. And then Dujek says that he's heard word from Empress Lacine, and she has commanded them to attack Moonspawn that day. So they're gonna have to attack this floating thing. The Malazans don't have a floating piece of rock to fight from. This is just this is a thing. So we don't know what exactly what's going on with that yet. Inside, so we're in Dujek's tent. We have Dujek, High Fist Dujek, and we have High Mage Tayshrin. Remember me talking about Tayshrin? He's maybe a fuckhead, we don't know. Then we have Tattersail and we have Hairlock. Those are the main people in the tent. Khaled is also there, which Tattersail's fuck buddy. He's also a mage of a different Warren than Tattersail's, which I think is like Thyr, Thyr. They believe the Lord of Moonspawn is alone in the floating fortress. He's a sorcerer, they think. A Tyst Andy, the first children of Mother Dark. And I know you know what that means. There have been reports from the Northern Campaign about Elder Magic, Corald Ghislaine, which is the name of a world and a warren, and the type of sorcery pulled through this warren. I think I have all of that right. Tayshrin and Hairlock are fighting about attacking Moonspawn. They say a bunch of shit that doesn't make any goddamn sense unless you have read it, but also there were certain parts where I was like, they're like, oh, but you didn't know about the thing. But I do know about the thing. But you don't know, do you? Maybe I don't. But do you know about my feet? You know, like, there's that is happening. I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, sometimes you're like, I don't have any idea. And that's when you say, fuck it, and you keep reading to get to the good shit. I'm not saying this is bad, man. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that, like, when I'm reading two people talking about nothing, and I have no context, really, I mean, I could go back and reread this conversation, and maybe I could, in more depth, and kind of puzzle out what exactly they're both referring to, but all I got was, like, we both we keep our cards tight to our chest. I'm not saying it's bad. I totally dig it. That's part of this world. And then eventually you find out some shit. sometimes you don't. And sometimes it feels like a red herring. Like it's like, oh, and then you're like, oh, I need to pay attention. That's why it's like, disregard it. Unless you can puzzle it out. And then when you like figure it out later, you do feel you feel good about yourself. Because you feel like you figured it out. It's almost like, it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. That is the extent of my poetic ability. Tattersail's head hurts. From the power between the two, between Hairlock and Tayshrin, because their power is just rising. And Khaled's eyes are watering from the smell of it. Though Tattersail mentions that he calls it smell because he doesn't understand what the sensation actually is. And she does. Hairlock's been in the army a long time, was there at the fall of Aaron in Seven Cities when Dassima Ultor, the first sword of the Empire, was betrayed and brutally murdered. In this section, we also get Dujek saying he doesn't want to show Caladan Brood's forces two fronts. What I understand this to mean is two different forces under Dujek meeting the enemy at different points geographically. So it's like, if this is Italy, and this is the eastern side, this would be north, the north section of Italy, southern. Two fronts. It does not mean two free bags of dope. I believe it's Khaled who says the name of the Lord of Moonspawn, which is Animandaris, or for short, Animander Rake. Then Khaled and Tattersail quote a poem of the same name by Fisher Keltath. The poem is called Animandaris. We find out that Caladan Brood has Barghast blood. So let's talk about this a second. So we have two races here, the Tai-Standi and the Barghast. I've explained what the Tai-Standi look like. They usually have white hair and black skin. They're an elder race. They're children of Mother Dark. Animander Rake has been said already to be the first child or something of Mother Dark. I don't know if that's literal or not. Barghast are larger than humans. They have tattoos depicting the history of their families. I picture them as Neanderthals from the way they're described, like just big cavemen. Okay, so now we have the battle. So we have a bunch of hills here, and I'm gonna try to throw the picture up here. There's a cool one on the wiki of this battle. The front hill closest to the wall of Pale and to Moonspawn, like right in the shadow of Moonspawn, Tayshrin, High Mage Tayshrin stands there. So there's kind of like, in the text it says, oh, well, I mean, despite what everybody's saying that he's a piece of shit, at least he's up there at the front. In the middle hill, behind Tayshrin, are three other High Mages. Nightchill, who has a cruel streak that the Emperor used to drool over. Then we have Belladon's Skull Crusher, a Thalaman giant, which I think are the same as Toblakai, but anyway, he's just a giant, but he's also a High Mage. And a Caranus, a fire wielder, who is a short, fat wizard. So I'm pretty sure Nightchill is a woman, lifelong partner to Belladon the giant. And yeah, so, and then on the third hill are Tattersail and her cadre of mages. And then the second and sixth armies, Malazan armies, had formed ranks on the plain around them, 7,000 veterans and 4,000 recruits, so a total of 11,000. And then a hole opens in Moonspawn, like right by this ledge. And then Animander Rake steps out and is like looking out, and Tattersail thinks about the sexy Teist up there. He's over 100,000 years old. He's tasted the blood of dragons, leads the last of his kind. He rules a kingdom with no land to call its own. He's a sad lord. And so then, Tayshrin shoots fire up at him. At Moonspawn, then a cloud of great ravens fills the air. They were like inside the cracks of the Moonspawn. Like here I picture it as a big coral reef and they're like in the holes. Anyway, Animander responds. He shoots a black wave of sorcery down at Tayshrin who goes to his knees deflecting it, like Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha deflection, but he goes to his knees like, oh, the power. When the flash dissipates, the soldiers lay in rotting heaps, mowed down like stalks of grain. Tattersail says that this is Corald Galain sorcery, elder magic, the breath of chaos. Earth rises skyward in thundering columns. Moonspawn is raining down death on the Malazans. And now we see Hairlock get cut in half. I've been halved! By the way, I'm digging Hairlock on the reread. I like everything this guy has to say. He's funny. Even with the hard to understand conversation he has with Taishrin. I don't like Taishrin. I like Hairlock. Even if he's kind of a shithead. I like him. The mages are chaining words of power together to use sorcery. So this tells us how a way in which they access their sorcery is by chaining words of power together. Kind of like Gandalf has the words of power he uses in the Lord of the Rings. Here we have that as well. I'm still piecing together the magic, as you can see. We will figure it out. By the way, I want to check in with you. How you doing? How you doing? Are you reading this? Are you understanding all of it? Are you retaining all of it? I want to know how you're doing. Tell me in the comments below if you're doing okay on this reread or read of Malazan. Are you able to pronounce everything according to Reddit's standards? Because if not, you're canceled as a reader. You can no longer read these books. Callet saves Tattersail, sacrificing himself. No. And Tattersail, her screams, she doesn't even hear them. A Kenrila demon rises beneath Nightchill and tears the high mage limb from limb. Let's see. Taishrin, the only high mage still going, is being a badass, pulling pieces of Moonspawn down onto the city of Pale with his sorcery. Then Moonspawn floats away towards the mountains. It's like, no, fuck this. Taishrin is down, but alive. Bellerden, the giant high mage, collects Nightchill's scattered limbs and is crying. They were lifelong partners after all. Acarinus, one of the other high mages, was first frozen solid, then crushed to dust by wings of ice. Pale had fallen. So here we are, back at the beginning of the chapter. After seeing what had happened, the price was 1 arm's host and 4 mages. Only now, after all of this is taken care of, are the Black Moranth moving in to the city. And Tattersail has a moment where she's thinking on sorcery again, just to give us a little bit more pieces of the magic, where it's just an internal dialogue of, she says, draw forth the warrens of power, the warren of power that comes to you. So I'm assuming that means that some warrens come easier to a magic user than others. I don't know. Quickband is doing something weird to Hairlock. The bridge burners tell Tattersail that they were hit by a wave of magic from Taishrin, their high mage, and we find out that he actually is the one who halved Hairlock. So Taishrin is a shit. He turned on them. He used the battle to, while he's deflecting Moonspawn or whatever, to accidentally kill Hairlock. Tattersail feels an evil presence. She has a headache. Maybe it's the girl that was with Whiskey Jack. Because this whole time there has been a girl with Whiskey Jack. I forgot to mention this earlier. I'm sorry. See what I did there. And with the bridge burner is Kalam. Kalam has long knives. He's an assassin, basically. And Tattersail totally wants to bone him. Even after all this shit has happened, she's like, God damn it, why do I feel the need to fuck Kalam, this big man? I mean, she was just with skinny little mini guy, which, she was digging, right? And she was like, an inhuman whale when he died, but maybe now it's time she's freed up. She can get with a bear of a man, get his hands on her. So Kalam hands Tattersail a sack with something hard in it that Quickbin was doing sorcery over. I'm a fucking sociopath. Tattersail thinks it was dental, which is a form of sorcery, but it's altered. Quickbin has altered it. Hairlock fully dies now. The girl near Whiskey Jack, we find out, is named Sorry. Sorry, gave you a headache. She's just walking around giving headaches to people. The goddamn possessed Fisher girl. Maybe. Has that been confirmed yet? We don't know, but it is my fan theory. Now we get a Whiskey Jack POV. So what Whiskey Jack is brooding, thinking about shit, you know, and he's like, and then he's thinking about Sorry, and he's like, what did Fiddler call her? An uncanny bitch. And that's about right. And Moranth, we find out, speaking clicks and buzzes. So, again, making me think that they're just bugs underneath that bug armor. Whiskey Jack thinks on this. Whiskey Jack thinks on this fact. Somebody wants the Bridge Burners dead. The Bridge Burners' next destination is the city of Darujistan, which is another free city. Tattersail is all shook up, thinking about fighting Tatron, but fuck that. She'll be walking through Hood's Gate if she does that shit. Tattersail is 219 years old. She walks through her tent through the carnage and ravens all over the ground. You know, there's fucking horse bodies probably. A bunch of horse bodies in these books. She has a book of Thyr, T-H-Y-R, I was right about that, sorcery in a chest. She sees her deck of dragons, also called a Fatid. So a deck of dragons is like a tarot deck. Tattersail talks about Mock, who's a person, who is what Mock's Hold is named after. Mock's Hold, we think, her once lover. So she's old as fuck, you know. Anyway, the namesake of Mock's Hold on Malaz Island. Dancer and the Emperor killed Mock. So anyway, Mock's Hold is where we were at in the prologue with Perrin, when he was like, I want to be a soldier, and Whiskey Jack was like, I'm gruff and old. She's thinking, while she's looking at the deck of dragons, that she could have possibly foretold Mock's death, her once lover, and Khaled's as well, if she'd used the deck of dragons to do a reading first. But she's wondering also if maybe she kind of felt that, and so that's why she didn't look, because she didn't want to know. And then while she's thinking about all of this, the mound Clam had given her starts to move. A wooden marionette climbs out of the bag, like fucking Pinocchio, and Hairlock, it's Hairlock, is inside of this puppet. But I don't think Hairlock wants to be a real boy. And Tattersail is like, oh, soul shifting. So this is the thing, it's called soul shifting. And that's what happened. It's a lost art for centuries that Quickbin just pulled off. And apparently this soul shifting is walking the Warrens closest to chaos. So this is dangerous shit, everybody. We're fucking with powers that would be better to let lie, let be. Tattersail talks to Hairlock. He feels Hairlock feels Tattersail touch her Warren. So her Warren, I think, is Thyr. Yeah, and she touches it. And then he's like, good. And he's like, do a reading, read the deck of dragons. And she does. She draws House Dark first, which is a picture of sexy ass Animander Rake with a huge black sword. Bottom half of his body is a body of a dragon. And then she draws another card, which is Opan, the god of chance, basically. It's two people. Opan is. It's the push and the pull. Two sides of a coin, if you will. Then Tattersail starts to hear a coin spinning. Opan's coin. And she asks Hairlock if he hears anything, and Hairlock does not. And Tattersail feels hope. And that's the end of the chapter. That's the end of chapter 2. Now, so my thoughts on chapter 2 overall. Let's see. Whiskey Jack so far is, he's a cool dude. I like Whiskey Jack because he is, you can tell he's a soldier. And he's been a soldier for years and years and years. And he kind of, the vibe I get is that he has been a soldier so long that that's kind of all he knows. He feels a responsibility towards those he's in charge of to kind of not necessarily shut off his emotions, but to be like, it is what it is, and move on. There's no point dwelling on how awful everything is. And so that's cool. But there's not a ton from Whiskey Jack. We know that, yeah, there's kind of a sense of duty that I feel like he has to go down with the ship. He knows the bridge burners are heading for something like a complete, like a culling. They're gonna be killed. And he is kind of the captain of the ship going down with the Titanic. I'm sorry for using that. I had nothing else. It's almost 1 a.m. and I woke up at 6:30 this morning, y'all. Tattersail. I like Tattersail. I know I made fun of her. I like that there's a variation in the way we're describing a voluptuous woman in fantasy, where she's not tiny. She has big breasts, but they are also, like, there's other parts of the body that are also big. She's thick, it's like the main describing thing I can think of when I think of Tattersail, but I know that Erickson doesn't say thick once. But there's soft mounds of pillow. That's pretty telling. And he throws and this was a nice use of another character put beside her to show her the size. Like, I almost feel like Callet was like, yeah, and she was fucking this guy named Callet. He was a baby size compared to Tattersail, to show you what Tattersail looks like in comparison. So, like, we know what a rail thin man looks like. He's not tiny, but he's like thin, and like him with a thick woman in our world would look like this, like soft pillows, you know. So yeah, that was a nice way to describe the character as far as physical appearance goes. I'm not sure what kind of trope he's subverting with that. I don't think there is one. Let me know if you think differently. I mainly think that this is just a well-drawn character as far as physical appearance, and I like the way he communicates it. I like that we don't have a man looking at her, describing her in these ways. That she is actually, it's kind of like the whole idea of like, no, I don't claim to understand this that well, but like of a woman feeling like stripping is empowering. I know that there are women out there who feel that way. Not all of them. I don't have an opinion on it. Whatever is fine with me. I don't fucking care. Okay, get off my case. But like, as far as she's like, hell yeah, I'm sexy. I got heavily lidded eyes. I have full lips. We have the female character basically not talking, but like when we're in her head, like we also hear that her heavily lidded eyes, like she's aware of these things about herself. And like, she's not afraid of the fact that she's that, but she's also a powerful sorceress. She's also like, doesn't care about shacking up with some guy. That's fine. So, as far as Tattersail's, I like Tattersail because she doesn't understand what Taishrin and Hairlock are fucking talking about either. That gave me, when I was reading it, that's kind of a signal to the reader of like, hey, just worry about Tattersail. You don't need to worry about Taishrin and Hairlock right now. Like, just worry about the fact that Tattersail is confused about these two mages. And worry about what Tattersail goes through. So I like that. She's relatable. She's more human, I feel like, than a lot of the other characters in the scene. So this is a good kind of person seeing the world for us and discovering things in a way. I mean, she knows things, but like she is some things she doesn't know, and she's seeing them, and we're seeing them with her. And we're getting trickle fed this magic system, and I like that. And there's a ton of it in these first 2 chapters. You're not getting, like I said, ice cream, a spoon. Like I said earlier, a spoonful of ice cream. That's like, and we, as we know, the way that Warren's worked, where they were portals reaching into another world, and a mage could pull through the magic from that world into this one. And if a mage desired, they could also walk into that other world using that same portal hole. We don't get that, but we do get told what it is through a bunch of different, like, I think there's like the 2 different POVs that focus on the way that the magic works, and you get to hear it. But Tattered Sail is a good way of introducing us to it in a little bit more of an intimate way, because she is a sorceress, where Perrin was not, and the adjunct was not, and Sorry, we don't know what the fuck's going on with Sorry. So yeah, we don't really get that until the full like magnitude of how sorcery is affects people and how someone uses it, until we have a battle scene, and it's in chapter 2. I also like that the way that this chapter is structured, where we first see the effects of the sorcery and the aftermath of it, and then we see how it all happened. I feel like that's a good way to kind of get someone to believe something as far as like the writing technique goes, because if I see a bunch of shit that's like dead and screaming and somebody's cut in half, and it's a wizard that's cut in half, then I'm like, okay, so Gandalf came back to life, he was invincible. A wizard has been cut in half. I don't know if he's invincible yet, but he's cut in half and his organs are out. What the fuck did all this? So then when it shows us that it was, it's magic basically did all this. If you were to say to me at the beginning of chapter 2, magic is gonna kill all these people, like, and then showed me the magic and then showed me it killing people, it would be harder. There would be less of a sense of verisimilitude, because if you just say magic, your suspension of disbelief, it's automatically okay, but you better fucking earn it. If you show me death and destruction, something I very much understand that's visceral, I have all these images of war, somebody cut in half, like all of those things. Oh God, this is real. This happens in our world. And then it's like sorcery did it, and you're like, fuck, dude. Like, it's like bombs. Anyway. Hairlock, as I said, I like this the first time through. Hairlock becoming a puppet. That's just great. He doesn't look like Pinocchio to me. I guess he kind of looks more like the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio, but a little more sinister even than that. He's always funny. He's always yelling about stuff that's like, he's yelling at Tattersail to continue doing the Deck of Dragons, even though she stops and she's like, no, I'm fucking done because I got the God of Luck. And she's like, that could be a bad sign, it could be a good sign, obviously, because luck. But he's like, you fucking bitch. I think he calls her a bitch. It's a really cool battle. I think that I listened to this battle on audiobook, my first read through, and it definitely hits different when you're reading it. Obviously, but like there's so much you miss, and so when you're reading it, and I've read these 2 chapters. I didn't audiobook it. I plan on not doing any audiobooking for this reread. And when you're reading it, it's just, oh my God, it's like a real fucking battle. It's such a cool fantasy battle, and I regret missing those the first time, but I'm happy I get to experience them now. I feel like it'll be easier to focus on those now that I don't have to worry about the plot, or certain aspects of the world. But yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the first 2 chapters of Gardens of the Moon. Let me know if you got a 99-cent copy. There was actually $9 on Amazon. So far I am fucking loving this book. I'm gonna try to do these chapter breakdowns 2 at a time. That might be too much. This was a lot of notes I took while I was reading, and I don't know if I can fit that into my life to do it like that for every time, but I'm gonna try to. If not, they'll just be a little bit less in-depth summaries. If I got anything wrong, please let me know. I'd like to correct that stuff in my next video if I can. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Hood's breath. Such a